Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about the deadlift. More specifically, we're going to talk about deadlift specialization, or how to bring up your deadlift. For those of you that aren't so much worried about building muscle and doing that bodybuilding stuff, but you're more concerned about just raising your deadlift strength. Before I get into this topic, if you have any questions or comments, check out the link below. Come on over, submit your questions. The best questions I turn into videos just like this. So, I was asked by a viewer to do a series on each individual lift. And a couple days ago, I did one on how to raise the bench press. And today, I'm going to do one on how to raise the deadlift for those of you that want a big, beefy deadlift. So, the deadlift is my lift. I've done 672.5 in competition as a fatty and 666 for those of you that think I'm evil. At a much lighter body weight. And when I was really heavy at 346 pounds, I was pretty close to pulling 800 pounds. But I got sick with diabetes before my meet, so on and so forth. So, excuse me. If you want to improve your deadlift, the biggest tip I can give you, other than you probably have to be at a caloric maintenance level or eating a little bit more than your maintenance level, probably 200 to 300 calories above, so you have enough energy for recovery and to build muscle, because that's a fundamental. But I would say that my biggest tip is to start with yoke strength and back strength. Now let me explain what yoke strength is, because not a lot of people talk about it. And, you know, this can be a controversial subject, because when people are doing partial deadlifts or rack pulls or whatever with heavier weight, there are some voices on YouTube that'll say it doesn't have any value. Let me say that strength always has value. If you are overloading your yoke, which is the area up here, you know, your traps and your upper back, and you are training it to lift more weight, when you go pull from the floor, you're inherently going to be stronger. So it does have value. It doesn't have to be your primary deadlift assistance exercise, your deadlift exercise, but I believe there is value in training your yoke. Now, how do you train your yoke? Well, you can either do, for most people, I don't recommend going heavy floor pull every week. This is not a rule. This is just general advice. I would like to see you floor pull 1 week, and then the next week pull off the ground, like from 3, 5 to 7 inches. So you can do whatever programming you're doing off the floor, and the next week you can pull, do a rack pull, block pull, 3, 5, 7 inches, whatever. And I'll get into a little bit more about that in just a moment. You can also train deadlift variations twice a week, but I wouldn't go too intense. You can have a floor day, and you can have a secondary day where you're doing a lot higher and focusing more on yoke and trap training. So if you do a floor day, don't do a lot of crazy volume. But your second day, we're going to focus more on 5 to 7, maybe even slightly above the knee or at knee level. Now that second day is extremely important. I want you to do some overload, okay? Because you're going to be pulling from 3, 5, 7 inches right below the knee. I want you to really hammer that. You don't have to do a lot of reps. But what we want to do is acclimate your yoke, your upper back, and your traps to heavier weight than normal. This has value. I can tell you that when I did rack pulls above the knee for a maximum amount of weight, even when I was extremely strong, even when I was crazy strong, I could feel the weakness. I could feel it wanting to strain. I could feel that I wasn't as strong as I could be up in that yoke and that upper back. So when you are training from 3, 5 to 7 inches for a heavier weight than your deadlift, you are building a quality amount of strength that will help you stave off injury as you progress, and it'll help you pull from the floor. There are a lot of variations you can do. You can just do straight rack pulls. You can do rack pulls and power shrug combinations. You can do rack pulls or block pulls and finish off your last set with a max set of power shrugs. Sometimes you can get really funky. You can do a rack pull, a block pull, and then do 3 power shrugs or 2 power shrugs, set the bar down, do another pull, do 2 to 3 power shrugs. At the end of your last rep of power shrugs, you can do a static hold. Now, people will say, does a static hold have value? Yes, it does have value, because the traps are one of the strongest muscles in the human body. You want to overload those suckers. In a static hold, your traps are going to contract because they're going to be keeping your arms on your body as you hold a lot of weight. So, again, to repeat, if you want a strong deadlift, I strongly recommend alternating between floor pulling and 3 to 5 to 7 inch block pulling and overload, and incorporate a lot of heavy power shrugs and some static holds. Now, power shrugs, that can be controversial for some guys because they're like, don't you have to do the mind-muscle connection crap? This isn't bodybuilding. We're getting a strong deadlift. We're getting a strong deadlift. You want to overload. You want to be explosive. You want to overload this whole upper yoke area and upper back area with as much weight as possible. Get everything strong up there, the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles. Have them be able to lift as much as humanly possible. So when that happens, you know what? Floor pulls are going to start feeling lighter and lighter. I don't care what the fake Merc says. He's weak as fuck on the deadlift, and I am not. Second point is you need to get your upper back, your back as strong as humanly possible with rows and barbell rows. Rows and barbell rows. You can alternate week in and week out, or do them both during the same week. I recommend probably alternating them weekly. Now, I like doing Pendley rows. These 2 exercises are sneaky, rows and barbell rows. They can be very taxing on your lower back. In my opinion, they can be so sneaky that they can be more taxing on your lower back if your deadlift form is already good. So I recommend alternating them week in and week out. Use straps on these movements. Use straps on these movements. We're not here to train your grip. We're here to train your back and get it as strong as possible. So get your volume in on these lifts. 8 to 15 rep sets, I recommend. We don't need to go low rep. We want to get our volume in and progress. We want to use straps or versigrips. And when you're doing these, you want to explode your elbow back. I visually tell people to imagine driving your shoulder and elbow back at the same time, like you're elbowing somebody behind you. This will help take the biceps out as a primary mover. It'll move it more into a secondary position, and it'll help you really explode and get a good back contraction, build more back strength. So that's the second tip. Get your back as strong as humanly possible. Now, obviously, we want everything else in our upper body to be extremely strong. If you have a weak point like your rear delts, if you have a weak point like your lower back, if you have a weak point like your chest, your biceps, your triceps, it's going to slow your deadlift progression down. Maybe only slightly, but I can tell you many times when I've done really heavy deadlifts, I can just feel my pecs just rippling, just straining and paining. You got to get everything in your upper body as strong as humanly possible. There's a synergy. Don't overthink this stuff. Strength is strength. Strength is always good. How much will your chest strength help? How much will your rear delt strength help? I don't know, but I can tell you if it's a weakness, there's no good reason to have anything in your upper body weak. So you want to have your upper body as strong as humanly possible. So focus on everything. Your shoulders, your chest, your lower back. Now the next tip, core. You want to have a strong core. I'm not talking about floor crunches, and I'm not talking about sit-ups. I want you to focus on, you can do these both during a week, or you can alternate. Planks, or rolling planks, or plank variations, and ab wheel rollouts. Ab wheel rollouts and planks. If you can do planks for time and a lot of quality ab wheel rollouts, you're going to have a really strong core, or really strong strength base for your core, and that will help. The next tip I want to give you guys is something most people don't talk about, but it is quad strength. Quad strength. I want you to get your quads as big and as strong as possible. You're going to be doing a lot of squatting. You can add in front squats. You can add in, I want you to really attack your quad strength. A lot of guys will just do squats and they'll be like, my quads aren't growing. My quads aren't growing. You got to just not do squats. You have to do a lot of squats, but not just squats. You have to back them with a leg press or the hack squat or leg extensions or body weight lunges. I even do box jumps. So you got to get your quads strong with a lot of squats, but with a lot of assistance work as well. Don't just rely on one exercise for strength, because you could be more hip dominant or hamstring dominant or glute dominant or any number of things, and your quads aren't growing as big as you want just from squats. But if you get your quads big and strong like the big hairy ugly dude, and I'm known for big juicy quads, it will help your deadlift a lot. So do not neglect your quads. What else do we have? We got a lot of squats. We got quad strength. We got back and traps. I think I've just about covered it. Did I forget anything? Fiona? What helps your deadlift the most? Did I forget anything?
You're asking me.
Yeah, I'm asking you. Like, I'll tell you, a lot of guys focus on stuff like deficit deadlifts or halting deadlifts or things like that. They focus on these way too much when they have a weak deadlift, and they're not focused on the fundamentals. So people will come to me and they'll be, what about deficit deadlifts? What about halting deadlifts? And they're weak on, they have weak quad strength. They have weak back strength. They have weak trap strength. They're focusing on the wrong things. I'm not saying these exercises don't have their place, but if your deadlift is weak, focus on the fundamentals. Focus on the fundamentals. Now you can also add in stuff like loaded carries. That'll help. But I want to make one final point about the deadlift. And this video is running long, so I'm going to wrap it up. But for the love of God, for the love of all things holy, don't let your grip hinder your deadlift strength. So if you have a weak grip, wear straps or VersaGrips when you're pulling. Don't let a weak body part hinder the development of a strong body part. That is foolish. If your grip strength is weak, work your grip after your deadlift with static holes in the rack or any number of things, pinches, rolls, whatever, wrist rollers. Don't be a fool and think that you're going to let the deadlift build your grip strength when your grip is already weak. That is idiotic. One more final tip. Speed work. One of the things I found that can be beneficial is doing some form of clean variation that is kind of like speed work. I found that like doing a high pull, pulling from the floor and just up to the waist level, exploding like a partial clean, or doing a hang clean up to like the chest area. A clean variation that uses a lot of weight, but that involves speed, a lot of speed off the floor can also be beneficial. And I just thought of one more point. Big, strong dumbbell or barbell Romanian deadlifts help a lot. Big, strong dumbbell and barbell Romanian deadlifts. You want to make sure your lower back doesn't get compromised and that it's not rounding. So only sink until you can keep that lower back in a tight quality position. Don't sink any lower than that. I probably forgot some tips. If you have some tips, drop them below. These are my biggest tips for building a big, beefy deadlift. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, check out the link below. If you've made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day and
stay sexy.
Stay sexy, you muscle people. Build those sexy muscles.
I want to see them. Not really.
No, I don't want to see your sexy muscles, you perverts.